This meeting is being held in compliance with the Brown Act. SCAG offices are open for members of the public to attend and participate in person. Instructions for providing public comment have been provided in advance and are also included in the agenda packet. If a member of this body is attending remotely but is not at a location specified on the agenda, they may observe and comment as a member of the public, but may not participate in any member discussion or voting of this body. For all members participating remotely, please ensure your microphone is muted when not in use. Please state your name during deliberations and whether making a motion or offering a second. Any voting member or member of the public calling into this meeting by telephone can press *6 to mute and unmute. All telephone participants should identify themselves prior to speaking. SCAG encourages all members of the public to participate in its meetings. We are committed to holding meetings accessible to people with disabilities. For members of the public requiring ADA accommodation, please call 213-630-1410. SCAG offers free interpretation services for members of the public needing information in another language. Please call 213-236-1895.
Sorry, that was a waste of time.
The meeting will now begin.
Good morning, everybody. As we begin, don't forget to mute your telephones until you are ready to speak. Today is Thursday, December 5th, 2024. Prior to calling this meeting to order, I'd like to ask members who are calling by phone to please identify themselves.
Adelanto, Daniel Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. Ramos. Going once, going twice. Okay. As a reminder, if a member of this body attending remotely but is not at a location specified on the agenda, they may observe and comment as a member of the public, but may not participate in any member discussion or voting of this body. To reduce background, once again, don't forget to ensure that your microphone is muted until you are ready to use it. The meeting of the Energy and Environmental Committee is now called to order. I'd like to ask the Honorable Damon Alexander to please lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Thank you all. Madam Clerk, at this time, I'd like to confirm, see if we have achieved a quorum.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have.
Okay. So we have ourselves a meeting. At this time, we are going to look at public comments. I will go ahead and open the public comment period for this meeting. This is a time when members of the public can offer comment for matters that are within SCAG's jurisdiction, but not specifically listed on today's agenda. Have we received any written comments today?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Do we have any members of the public that wish to speak?
I see no raised hands.
No raised hands. Thank you. I will then go ahead and close the public comment portion for today's agenda. And we will now review and prioritize agenda items. I don't expect anything to be changed around, but I did want to let you know that generally speaking, we would be doing the election for vice chair first. But because our first presenter has a time constraint of when they have to be completed with their presentation, we've changed things around just a bit in order to achieve maximum time for that presenter in today's meeting. So, so with that, we will go ahead and look at the consent calendar. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on the consent calendar?
I see no raised hands.
Okay, no hands, no in person. Okay, and then we will bring it back to this body for motions, comments.
Chair Dennis will move the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, we have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. And do we do a roll call or? Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll start with roll call. Damon Alexander. Thank you. Annabelle Tran. Phil Brock.
Yes, here.
Thank you. Margaret.
Oh, wait,
oh.
I did the same.
Oh.
The answer is yes.
Thank you. Margaret Clark.
Yes.
Robert Copeland. Jenny Crosswhite.
Yes.
Ned Davis.
Aye.
Rick Dennison.
Tennyson, yes.
Carmen Hernandez.
Yes.
Thank you. Sherry Horn.
Horn, I.
Britt Huff. Stephen Leash. Elaine Litzer. Patricia Lock-Dawson.
I.
Vianney Lopez. Lauren Meister.
I.
Luis Placarte.
Blancarte, aye.
Daniel Ramos. Jeanette Sanchez Palacios.
Ramos, aye.
Thank you.
Sanchez
Jeanette.
Palacio.
Thank you. Jennifer Stark. Ali Taj. Tamala Takahashi.
Aye.
Connor Trout.
Yes.
Stephanie Bergen.
Yes.
Dale Welty.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, the motion for consent passes with 17 votes yes, 0 votes no, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you. So that takes care of item 1 on the agenda and receive and file items 2 and 3. With that, we go on to item 4, electric grid readiness.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, hi, this is Britt Huff. I'm sorry, my internet cut out, but I am present.
Thank you. Mr. Kalmick, did we record a vote for Mr. Kalmick as he was walking in or? Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Going on to agenda item number 4, electric grid readiness. Just a reminder for everybody, this is a time certain. Our presenter has a 10:45 time limit. And so if you have any questions, let's wrap up the last question at around 10:40. Before we start with that, do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item?
I see no raised hands.
Okay, no one online. We don't have anybody here coming to the podium. Any comments from members of the committee? Questions? Not yet. Okay, with that, we will go ahead and move on to the presentation.
Good morning, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we do. Good morning.
So thanks for the opportunity to provide an overview of our white paper on California grid readiness, as it was mentioned. This was based on a joint effort with my colleague, Professor Matthew Bart. He's also on the call. Both Matt and myself are professors of electrical and computer engineering at UC Riverside. My focus is more on power grid, and Matt's focus is more on transportation electrification. So this is like a highlight of what is included in this white paper. The white paper itself is available online. if you use the link that is mentioned here or the QR code. It would take you to California Grid Readiness Consortium, which is a UCR website. And then if you scroll down, there is a link to the whole white paper, and then you can see the white paper that is shown on the right-hand side. It is about 75 pages if you wanted to read the whole report. So it covers 4 chapters, starting from future electrification landscape, how we envision things to change in this domain over the next 10 to 20 years based on various forecasts and studies and so on and so forth. Then next chapter is how these changes will affect the grid. What would be the challenges basically for the infrastructure? Then how we need to make the power grid ready to address these challenges and these changes through various investments. And then finally, some touch on societal and policy implications. So what I'm going to do in this presentation, I will go through each of these chapters, giving some highlights, and then hopefully we will have time for some discussions. So as mentioned, the starting point is understanding the future electrification landscape. One of the domains that will be significantly affected, and it is being significantly affected, is the transportation sector. Currently, we have about 1.5 million light duty, like passenger vehicles in California, just a few thousand medium and heavy duty vehicles. There have been various forecasts on how these numbers are going to grow. There is no doubt that the numbers will grow, but how much will depend on what kind of assumptions you make. Here we are showing some examples of on the chart here, forecasts from 2 utilities in Southern California, SC and SDG&E, on how they envision the light duty, medium duty, and heavy duty electric vehicles to grow till 2045. But there are also several other third-party forecasts that I have summarized on the right. So again, there are nuances on what kind of assumptions they make. There are several factors on the technology, on the economic aspects, and so on and so forth. But one thing is clear, and that is there will be growth. What percentage, again, that would require some discussion. But there is going to be a significant increase moving forward in terms of the electric vehicles that will be integrated into the transportation system and the overall grid to support them in California. So they will bring additional electrical load. The table on the right shows the typical load of annual kilowatt hour load of each vehicle, starting from light duty, just a passenger car, moving on to medium duty and heavy duty, just to get an idea on what that number means. So for the first row, which is just a regular light duty car, the charge, the kilowatt hour charge would be equivalent to about 5 months of load of a single home. So that means it is equivalent to additional 5 months of load in each year. And then obviously, as you move towards the larger vehicles, the load is going to increase. So again, just doing a high-level discussion on how electrification will evolve in California. Another major sector is building. Both residential buildings and commercial buildings, new constructions and retrofitting existing buildings. The primary driver in this area is water heating and space heating, but also some appliances, different types of appliances that will switch to electric powered appliances. So again, there are various forecasts from the utility and also third party. For building in particular, there is the impact of regulation, meaning that depending on what regulation may approve and kick in within the next couple of years, there can be significant change in terms of forecast. For example, there are items related to CARB regulations that may push electrification in buildings pretty much up to 100%, especially for new construction. And again, looking at like various studies, a simple or typical forecast is that for a household with building electrification and one EV, you can assume double the electricity charge overall for that household. So those are the two major sectors, but there are other sectors that are evolving and they're affecting both the growth and then the shape of the load. One is other sectors of transportation, like electric trains and also cargo handling equipment, especially in ports in Southern California. Another sector is hydrogen fuel production, which is particularly a driver or a need for hydrogen vehicles and hydrogen energy storage. So you need to consume electricity to generate clean hydrogen. And then manufacturing, again, for different sectors, including for water supply and wastewater management and boiling and heating, depending on the type of the process. And then another aspect that we wanted to highlight is computational load. So over the past decade or 2 decades, data centers have been growing in the US in general. But more recently, because of the artificial intelligence and the GPUs that are being used for AI models, there is another significant boost in load growth in data centers for computational load. So all in all, with across these various sectors, again, we expect changes moving forward. And the impacts will be on the grid. The power grid would have to support the increasing load. But it is not just the increase, like overall increase in the load, but also it is a matter of change in the pattern of the load. So in essence, it's going to be impact on total energy usage, which is basically kilowatt hour, megawatt hour, gigawatt hour, and also peak power usage, which is a gigawatt, a unit of power. So just to get an idea, again, in case you're not already familiar, here's an example of system-wide increase under certain assumptions with and without EVs. So this is the load profile during a day, like 24 hours, like again, a typical profile. So the overall area increase is the gigawatt hour additional energy generation that you would need to support the additional EVs. But then it is not just the area that will increase. As you can see, the shape will also change. So that means the time of peak will also change. It will increase and it may move to another time. So again, looking at various predictions in terms of the total and in terms of the peak, there is no doubt that there will be a significant increase in both of them. And there will be some nuances on how they will be affected through the operation of the grid, through the load growth and policies and so on and so forth. But again, there is no doubt that there will be increase. And that increase will have impact on both transmission of the electricity and also distribution of electricity. Transmission is more like, you see outside cities, those large towers of high voltage delivery of power from one location to another location in the state. And then distribution is for neighborhoods. The neighborhood circuits that could be overhead or underground, serving the residences, businesses, and so on and so forth. So in the long term, there is a need for increasing the capacity, the transmission capacity and distribution capacity, because whether it is the cables, transformers, and so on, they have limitations of how much electricity they can deliver. So there is a need for increased capacity, but also in short term, there is a need to use the current capacity more efficiently. Again, in the report, we look at different projections, but again, one third-party projection, for example, suggests that there will be a need for tripling the amount or the length of transmission lines in California by 2050. So when it comes to this type of analysis, usually the idea is that we would want to estimate how many circuits in the system will face overloading if there is no upgrade. And then some estimates, again, for different investor-owned utilities in California are shown here. This means the number of circuits in the system, like if you consider all of the circuits as 100%, this is the number of circuits that will reach their limits. So that means they will face problems when you reach a limit transmission or electricity delivery limit, and the system cannot support it. The system is going to trip. So that means that circuit is going to trip. You will lose power. And in terms of what elements you can reach the capacity of the transformers, you can reach the capacity of the feeders like the cables, service transformers versus substation transformers, and so on and so forth. But it is not just the capacity, because the type of the load that is increasing is different from the traditional load. In particular, when it comes to, for example, electric vehicles, they have chargers that are power electronics, which means they have different behavior from like the traditional resistive and inductive loads. So therefore, their presence is going to have impact on the operation of the power system, affecting power quality, protection of the system, and stability of the system. For example, voltage violation, fluctuations, and so on and so forth, or harmonic pollutions, which means basically the sinusoidal wave of AC voltage will be distorted, which can cause problems for appliances and equipment, and so on and so forth. And then the limitations that it can cause on the operation of the system and also the planning. One of the problems is that because it is not clear what circuit is ready, or the circuit may not be known to be ready, it can cause delay in the permitting process, and so on and so forth, from the utilities to the customers. And this is based on the assessments and looking at and talking to the industry partners. That seems to be at this point the bottleneck for growing electrification in California. So, but then when it comes to the need for investment and increasing capacity and enhancing the capabilities of the circuits, one thing that is important to understand is that it could be many circuits that need to upgrade, but each circuit may need only a small upgrade. And here's an example. So the circuit, which is like a map going through the neighborhood, is shown in black, but only a segment of the circuit requires upgrade of the cable, and a few places would need upgrade for the transformer. So that has impact directly on the costs of upgrades when there are estimations. Again, there are various assumptions, so they can lead to different numbers. But one thing that is important to understand is ultimately there is a unit cost and there is overall cost. And when it comes to unit cost, it is important to get into the nuances of like partial upgrades that are needed over time across different circuits. And then on the right, we are showing a case study that we had in collaboration with Southern California Edison for a city of Jurupa Valley in Riverside County. So we looked at their 10-year outlook for net load growth. So every year, SCE and every other investor-owned utility should have a 10-year prediction of where the load is going to be for that particular location or that city, that substation. So from 2023 to 2024, they had 35% increase in their 10-year outlook because of the many requests that they received, especially for EV charging station and various other projects from developers and so on. Just showing as an example of how significantly the load is increasing even now, based on the granular studies at different locations. So this chart here shows the breakdown of the increase in the load. So some of the increase is just because of the increase in the population and so on and so forth, but several or some of the elements are directly the result of electrification, like the one that is highlighted here for EVs. So for this particular case study, SC received 30 new EV charging station projects. The largest that they received was just for one project, 15 MVA, mega volt amp, similar to megawatts. It's just like the different unit. And the 9 of the projects was already larger than 1 MVA. So just to get an idea, like for a university campus, the whole university, the peak is in the order of about 10 MVA. So that means one charging station is already larger than one large university campus's load. So because of those increases, they have already gone through some upgrades in their system. So for example, in terms of adding new distribution circuits, upgrading the capacity of substations, and also adding one new transmission line just for this particular case. Looking at again the investment needs, there are diverse areas that need some attention. One is investment in grid edge, basically customer side. Traditionally, the customer side has been pretty simple from the viewpoint of the utilities. There is load, and then the load can grow over time, but there's nothing complicated in terms of how the infrastructure should operate. However, because of the changes in the customer side, because of electric vehicles, distributed energy resources, and then also flexibility to support demand response to the power system. There is now a significant opportunity and also a kind of link to a challenge that if you utilize the capabilities at the grid edge, the ability to coordinate with them, then you can highly benefit from these recent changes and the changes that are expected to come in the near future. But if you don't, then they can turn into challenges and again, making things worse for the limited capacities that we have in different circuits and so on and so forth. So again, here we are just looking at a simple example of electric vehicles coming home. 2 options. 1, they just plug in and start charging. 2, they maximize the delay in charging, meaning that they become they provide maximum flexibility in the timing of charging the vehicle to the extent that it doesn't affect their operation, meaning that they are okay if you delay because they don't need the car yet. Just these 2 cases, there is a significant difference between the load profile and including like the time of the peak, whether it's going to be early in the morning when we have more solar generation versus when we have versus in the evening when traditionally there is a peak for the load. Again, there are several nuances here. For example, you may have heard of this idea that why not charging the vehicle at night because the load is less. But other studies, recent studies have shown that that could be problematic because many equipment in the grid like transformers, they need to cool down during night. That means they need to lower their load so that they can cool down, so that they can come back to the next cycle. That means we shouldn't really do it at night. It depends on the circuit. It depends on the circumstances of the equipment. We may have to do it rather again early in the morning when there is a maximum solar generation. But this example just makes a point that uh, there should be some flexibility on the customer side, not just one solution that, okay, everybody should do it at this particular time at night, but rather flexibility so that moving forward, once we even see other nuances, we can have an agile system that can, adjust to the circumstances of each circuit or each segment of the network. And there are other aspects that need upgrade. The operation of the power system is becoming more and more complicated. So there's a need for upgrading the operation and management software. The protection system in particular is being affected because of the behavior of power electronics loads. Again, I mentioned electric vehicles, but also solar inverters, they are power electronics. And then also upgrading and updating the forecasting and probabilistic models for operation. Other aspects that are listed here, I don't get into the details, but if you want to have a holistic view, it is not just the need for upgrades and investment. We also need the workforce, including entry-level jobs for the technicians that go and do these installations. You need data to make informed decisions. That's another issue. Like traditionally, we don't have that many sensor installations and measurements on the distribution system at the lower voltage side of the circuit. This is gradually changing, but again, unless you have access to reliable data, you cannot make proper decisions moving forward. And then there are also some new areas of cybersecurity challenges. Again, there's more details in the report, but putting it simply, your air conditioning load at your home could be connected to the internet. You could control it with your cell phone, and it is not in compliance with how the electric grid as a whole is being operated based on security requirements, because this is just your cell phone and your own home versus, let's say, an operation room of the utility or a power plant. Nevertheless, with a large number of these grid edge resources, these small like cell phone connected, distributed controllable loads, EVs, air conditioning, and so on and so forth, they could create some vulnerabilities for the system overall that may require attention moving forward. So again, the overall point here is that there are various aspects that would need attention moving forward, not just a simple upgrade that is the most obvious case. So moving to the last part, the societal and policy implications, to the extent that was relevant to our study. So one thing is clear that you can have, as a policymaker, you can have all sorts of decarbonization goals and targets, but if the infrastructure cannot support that, then you're not going to be able to reach those targets. And then the other thing in parallel is, apart from decarbonization, we have seen the increasing problems with like frequent weather events, extreme events, and so on and so forth, which is linked to grid resilience. Part of the discussion here is we not only want to enhance the capacity and capabilities of the power grid to be able to meet the target decarbonization goals, but we also want to make the grid more and more resilient. Now, Other aspects, again, there are more details in the report, but here are some examples. So, for example, when it comes to equity concerns, like more affluent neighborhoods are faster or the first to adopt electrification technologies. So that means if you look at the grid, those neighborhoods are more in needs for upgrades and adopting new technologies. But then the problem is that if that's the priority, then it will increase the gap because then the attention will automatically go into these neighborhoods because they have the need, but they have the need because they had the ability to switch to electrification earlier because of their better, economic conditions. Or another kind of on the other side of equation, there are discussions on the burden of upgrading the electricity infrastructure on the lower income customers. But on the other hand, there are studies that show that overall the cost of energy could reduce for these portions of the society. So this is not our area. We just looked at what is relevant, right, to the infrastructure. But these are the things that, like, for example, on your side as policymakers, you may want to consider moving forward. Other aspects, supply chain is a clear issue. We need the workforce, we need the plan and investments for upgrades and improving the technology. But then you also have this issue of dealing with the supply chain bottlenecks, such as some of the issues that we had during COVID and we still have. So for transformers, cables, some of them come from overseas and can be an issue moving forward. Regulatory aspects, permitting delays that I talked about that earlier, and then cost and planning. On cost and planning, there are a couple of important points that we wanted to highlight. It is usually more cost effective if you plan long term as opposed to like segment by segments as incremental improvement in the system. There are also benefits to simultaneously upgrades for new loads versus new solar generation versus new energy reduction. We have seen cases that individually people try to look into these cases. That means they plan for upgrades because of the additional solar, but then separately upgrade for additional load. But they can somehow cancel out each other if they are looked at together as one holistic plan moving forward for the upgrades. And then another aspect that we looked at was stakeholder communication and coordinations. These are some of the generally relevant stakeholders to this overall effort of California grid readiness. We had some cases that it is clear there is data missing. It is not clear which agency is in charge of certain type of data. And there are also cases that data is not reliable because of the way that it was initially collected, but it was not necessarily updated moving forward. So based on the inputs from the industry and government representative that we talk to in this effort, it seems that there is benefit to have a single state agency in charge of overseeing this whole process, more on the policy side, but also to some extent on technical side to identify what data is missing, what areas are priority, and so on and so forth. And other recommendations that we had, again, early and holistic planning, considering these various aspects, including workforce training, supply chain, cybersecurity, and so on. And stakeholder engagement may help. And we also had some thoughts on, public awareness and making sure that the process is transparent and equitable moving forward. considering both challenges and also the requirements that we need to deal with or face in order to address those challenges. So that was the highlight of the technical report or the white paper. Again, you can read that whole report through the link at this QR code or the link that is provided here. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. I do know that we have a very limited time for questions. So first, let me open public comment. Any members of the public here that speak on this item?
I see no raised hands.
Nothing online? Okay, then we'll go ahead and go. We'll start with Ms. Clark.
Okay, I'm very concerned about the cost that you're talking about. I'm basically for balanced energy. And I have a question, and then I'd like to make a quick comment after. You said that one EV would double the electricity cost. If my bill
The two high-level estimates that I had was one EV is equivalent to 5 months of homes electricity usage, which is about 40% additional load, right? And then there was another estimate that was building electrification. That means if you switch all the like heating system for water and space, and then also appliances, in addition to the EV, then that's double.
So it's going to raise the cost for everyone, basically. Do you agree?
The cost of electricity for the customer will increase. It may partly be compensated by the reducing the cost of gas or for heating in the house. So overall energy, that's one factor versus the cost of electricity. The cost of electricity will go up because you have to consume more electricity. The overall energy cost, that's a different factor. And we have seen studies, we didn't do any study on that, but we have seen studies that suggest that the overall energy for a customer can go down. And then we have the infrastructure cost. That was, again, separate discussion.
Okay, but for example, my gas bill is my lowest bill that I pay. How on earth can you say if everything in the building and the car, everything is electricity, it's going to go down? I don't believe that. And we, SCAG took us to the gas company, and they had a very good hydrogen example. And if it's clean, why do we care? We want to reduce pollution, but having everything electric, I'm very concerned because I'm on the League of Cities Energy Environment Committee. And I mean, environmental quality. And they were talking about the basic rate. And on that panel was a member of the PUC. She's not elected, but she's a staff member. And she said, when there's no more natural gas, the cost of electricity will go up. And we're saying right here, it says, make the grid more resilient in the face of climate change, the need for equity to be key consideration in grid update strategies, ensure that low-income and disadvantaged communities and populations are not left behind, and ensure energy is deployed. I don't see this happening from what, and I appreciate all I'm not killing the messenger here, but I'm very concerned about the effect on our low-income residents that aren't going to be able to afford this. They can't afford even an EV right now. I can't. And why are we making everything? If you want it as a choice, you want to do it, fine. But to mandate it for everybody is just outrageous, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. We have time for one more question before we get there. Don't forget on your packets, Dr. Hamed's contact information, the link to the report, everything is there for follow-up questions you may have. Mr. Alexander?
Well, since you put me on a one quick, I guess, question. Did you take in consideration, sir, you said triple the transmission lines by 2050. I heard you on all that, and then I didn't see a cost for that. But did you guys take in consideration other things like solar farms in your analysis, or did you take place about solar panels on homes that is mandated in California now? Did you take that in consideration in your analysis?
So that triple for transmission line was not our analysis. So part of the work that we did was basically aggregation of the existing analysis, right? So for that particular triple, there are two issues. One is that you need to bring power from the source of generating power to the location of consuming power. In traditional systems, when we had power plant, that was less complicated because your source was reliable. When you switch to, let's say, wind and then solar, they are not as reliable. So that means you cannot assume that there is one source and that source is going to supply power at one particular location and that's it. You need to have the option to bring electricity from multiple sources from different locations, because they have complementary basically characteristics. So for example, solar versus offshore wind, their availability is different. So that means you may end up needing both of them to supply a particular area, right? Because they are not individually reliable as a single source. So there are some complications on that side. And then you had a valid point that in like rooftop, when the load side reduces its need because it has residential solar panels and so on and so forth. Yes, that means it will reduce the requirement of bringing power from other locations. So these are all the factors. And my understanding of that study, they did consider that, but the reference is in the report for looking into the details of that study.
Thank you, Professor. Once again, you can find all the contact information for additional follow-up in your agenda packets. With that, we go to item number 5.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I apologize for the interruptions. If I may, could I confirm with Member Huff on her vote for the consent calendar? Member Huff, you had stated present. Was that a yes vote for the consent calendar? Member Huff?
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that clarification.
Can-
To our item 5 on our agenda, Regional Resilience Framework Overview. This is on page 22 of your agendas.
I just
Before
want to let you know that I'm here.
start on our presentation, a couple reminders. One, please don't forget to mute your microphones unless you are ready to speak online. Number 2, Madam Clerk, do we have anybody who's raised their hand for public comment on this item?
I see no raised hands.
Anybody in chambers? None? With that, I'd like to turn it over to Sebastian Shetty, Associate Regional Planner for SCAC. Sebastian, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Sebastian Shetty, and I'm I'd like to thank you for having me this morning to discuss SCAC regional.
Oh, excuse me. Just go ahead and turn on the microphone on the podium, that green button.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. Yeah, so thank you for having me this morning to discuss our regional resilience framework and our work to advance our region's sustainability. So the Regional Resilience Framework was launched in June of 2022 with the purpose to build our region's resilience to climate change and other shocks and stressors to the ongoing maintenance of the systems that support our communities. The activities involved in the Regional Resilience Framework project involve research, stakeholder engagement with community-based organizations and our local jurisdictions, and the ultimate creation of what we're calling a resilience toolkit. The need for this project was originated in the 2020 plan and then was further affirmed through our climate action resolution in 2021. The work for the Regional Resilience Framework was then carried through to Connect SoCal 2024, the the early deliverables for the Resilience Framework project were integrated into the 2024 plan, which I'll cover just up ahead. So the goals of the Regional Resilience Framework project have been to create a definition of regional resilience to guide SCAG's work, to do a robust public engagement, stakeholder engagement effort through our Resilience Advisory Committee, and to create the toolkit, which I will tell you about up ahead. The ultimate purpose of this research and deliverable development process is to identify strategies that can strengthen the resilience of our region. So in the development of Connect SoCal 2024, we convened a special subcommittee which produced SCAG's own definition of resilience, which has guided all of our work since then. The definition that we established is the capacity of the SCAG region's built, social, economic, and natural systems to anticipate and effectively respond to changing conditions, acute shocks, and chronic stressors by creating multiple opportunities for a sustainable, thriving, and equitable future. We also developed a shocks and stressors matrix in the beginning of this project. This matrix was used as an information resource by the authors of the Connect SoCal 2024 technical reports and main book, and informed the development of Connect SoCal's regional planning policies and implementation strategies, and how resilience could be further integrated into the development of these policies and strategies. A selection from the matrix itself was directly integrated into the Land Use and Communities Technical Report, and the resilience themes uncovered during the research for this project were further integrated into the main book of the plan, which contains 65 references to resilience. We convened the Resilience Advisory Committee in early 2024 to explore resilience challenges and opportunities from a wide variety of perspectives representing the diversity of Southern California's communities. The interdisciplinary committee that we convened includes experts in sustainability, resilience, and emergency management. On the slide before you, you'll see the full list of agencies and organizations that participated in the RAC. This includes local jurisdictions, public agencies, academic experts, utility providers, and community-based organizations. Following the completion of our engagement efforts with the RAC, we've been working to develop the Resilience Toolkit. The Resilience Toolkit will include case studies and informational resources that support local jurisdictions in their grant application activities, planning for local resilience, and project funding and financing. As of now, we're working to determine how we can best get the information within the toolkit out to our partners. And we're going to take the first iteration of the toolkit to run through review by jurisdictional staff to refine it and make sure that it's as useful as possible, as we want to ensure that this resource adds true value to our stakeholders as they work to achieve a more resilient set of base conditions. Following the completion of the development of the toolkit, we're continuing to look at opportunities for training, direct technical assistance, and assistance with funding and financing. So I'm happy to take any questions that you might have about our regional resilience framework or our sustainability efforts, and I'm happy to provide any resources that you might need. Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian. We'll now open it to questions from this committee. Go ahead.
Thank you. This is not moving. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Sebastian. I appreciate the report. We're in the middle of our general plan update, which also includes our climate plan that we have to do per the state regulations. Do you see this informing that effort? And will there be, there's measures you do within that are prescribed by ICLEI and others. I'm just curious, is that going to be able to walk into that and inform it?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question. So when we are working to support our jurisdictions in planning for resilience or climate action, part of that can include climate action plans directly, but part of that can include the many other plans that jurisdictions have to work on, such as general plans or local hazard mitigation plans. So what we want to create is a resource that can assist with better integrating resilience themes and information into all of these different types of plans, if that answers your question.
Thank you. Any additional? Good morning. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. So you said the next step is you're going to the cities or jurisdictional to get feedback. Will it come back to this body for feedback as well before it becomes finalized?
I am unsure about the exact process by which we're finalizing because it's still under development, but the next step will be the development of the toolkit itself, at which point we will then start to engage with jurisdictions.
So I can jump in here momentarily. So yeah, basically the idea behind connecting with certain jurisdictions is to share some of the resources within the toolkit. So there'll be engagement resources, funding resources, best practices in there. And the reason why we want to engage with certain jurisdictions is because we want to see how helpful it is for them and to see where we want to refine it. So the idea is we'll connect with, we haven't selected these jurisdictions yet. We're still kind of working through exactly how we'll do that. But we'll take their input and then we'll come back to this committee with the toolkit as it's been refined from that perspective. Along with that, we hope by that time to also come back with specific types of engagement or technical assistance that that will be available as well and share that with you.
Thank you for that. Being no more questions in the room, we'll go ahead to our remote locations that have been posted on the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any raised hands?
I see no raised hands.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We now move on to agenda item number 6, model pathways to deep decarbonization. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on this item?
I see no raised hands.
No raised hands and no one in chambers. At this time, I'd like to call on Rick Horsch and Jordan Giro, Legal Pathways to Deep Decarbonization. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Rick Horsch. Jordan, do we have the slides?
Yes, I'm going to be sharing Rick's slides. Give me one moment to bring that up for everyone assembled. Very good. Thank you, Jordan. And I'm delighted to be able to speak with you today about our project. Next slide, Jordan. In a nutshell, the Legal Pathways to Deep Decarbonization Project, or LPDD, as we refer to it, drafts model laws to mitigate climate change and makes those model laws available to policymakers at every level of government in the United States. Our goal is to provide policymakers, especially those at the state, local, and county levels, with the legal tools to decarbonize all sectors of the economy. Next slide. To accomplish this, we've enlisted law firms and lawyers around the country to draft model decarbonization laws on a pro bono basis. We've also established a project website that provides free, open access to our model laws. As you can see on the slide, the project is part of Columbia University Climate School, as well as the Sabin Center on Climate Change Law at Columbia Law School. I should mention that the project is the brainchild of Michael Girard, one of the country's most prominent climate law attorneys, who is a professor at Columbia Law School and the executive director and founder of the Sabin Center at Columbia. Michael Girard and John Dernbach, a professor at Widener Law School, started the project in 2019. The project is nonpartisan. Next slide. To date, we have prepared and posted on our website more than 80 model laws. Each model law is accompanied by an explanatory memo that is intended to explain in plain English the purpose of the model law and how it works. Not only do we have our model laws, our website also includes more than 2,500 actual and proposed statutes, ordinances, and other resources relating to decarbonization. Those resources have been selected from various jurisdictions across the country, again, often at the local and county level. Our website is located at lpdd.org. That's lpdd.org. Next slide. Let me explain briefly how we prepare our model laws to give you a sense of their quality. Each model law has been drafted by a lawyer with experience in the area and then is peer reviewed by a person with deep expertise in that particular area. We actually have more than 90 peer reviewers who we work with to peer review our model laws. Next slide. We also try to build into our model laws climate justice considerations. Drafters and peer reviewers are instructed to incorporate climate justice provisions into the model law, and we've formed a climate justice advisory committee that consists of outside climate justice experts and advocates to advise us on those issues. Next slide. The scope of the coverage of our model laws, the model laws we make available, is actually quite broad. It covers all sectors of the U.S. economy that must be decarbonized if we're to reach net zero by 2050. This includes, for example, energy generation, decarbonization of the transportation sector, decarbonization of buildings, decarbonization of industry, and decarbonization of agriculture. Next slide. Let me close by mentioning we are available to work with you on searches of the database for resources that may be relevant to topics of interest to you. Jordan Giroux, who I just volunteered to assist you on resources, will now take you through the website. But before we hear from Jordan, I think Jim J. O'Karis, also a member of our team, would like to say a couple of introductory words. Jim?
Yeah, thank you, Rick. I serve as the California outreach consultant, so I wanted to give a little California perspective for a minute or two. As all of us in Southern California know, our state is the national leader in decarbonization policy. Consequently, we have a whole host of statutes and regulations concerning many aspects of decarbonization. And Sacramento enacts a bunch of new ones every year, including, I'm sure, as many of you know, this year. You, as leaders of city, county, and regional agencies, you must comply with all these statutes and regulations. This often requires you to formulate new ordinances and rules for your own agency. As Rick kind of alluded to, LPDD has, well, we have in addition to the model laws, there's over 2,500 actual laws, ordinances, policies that have been adopted or proposed around the country. And many of these are ordinances, hundreds are ordinances, which would be, appropriate at the city level, all in the database. And hundreds of them include subjects as I'm generally familiar with SCAG from my work as an environmental lawyer. It seems your main interests are transportation and buildings. We have hundreds of those. And also, as Rick mentioned, Jordan's going to walk you through our ample database, but if you're interested in getting help on specific items, we don't mean to leave you kind of wandering through 2,700 items. We're here to help. We're here to help you. We're here to help your staff with specific requests. Okay. Jordan?
Thanks, Jim. So with that, I'm going to share screen again, and I'm going to take you through the website just to really give you an entree to what we offer, how it's organized, and hopefully in the process, whet your appetite with a few of the type of resources that might be of interest to this audience. So this is our homepage. As Rick mentioned, the project began in 2019 and actually began with the publication of this book. Over 60 authors with subject matter expertise in areas ranging from forestry to building codes all tackled what different jurisdictional levels of government can be doing to fight climate change and came up with over 1,000 recommendations. Those recommendations were not a static project. We continue to update what we're looking at, but they were the foundation of the types of model laws that we were looking to develop and promote. Right now, the project has 362 different pathways. You can think of pathway as being another word for subject matter expert or subject matter, and over 2,500 different resources. Those resources might be our own model law. They might be a law that we think highly of passed in another jurisdiction. Where appropriate, they might be a white paper on something that's so nascent that we don't really have good models on it yet. Or they might even be another database that tracks something even better than we do. So with that, I'm going to walk you through our database, really kind of going left to right atop the screen here. If you go under top resources, you might say to yourself, 2,500 some resources, a little too much to bite off at first blush. So for you, we have put together lists of top resources addressing different sectors. So within the transportation sector, we will have a PDF one-pager, I believe it might be 2 or 3 pages in this case, where we talk about what some of our top resources are and give you a quick hyperlink to view them. And that's repeated for a whole bunch of different sectors. You can see that under our top resources tab. Rick mentioned the 80 model laws that we've authored ourselves within our own drafting team and peer review network. And those are all housed, they're of course under other pathways, but they are housed separately under the model laws tab. So just as you scroll down through here, I understand this is a dry presentation. I'm just trying to give you a flavor of the scope that we offer, from materials consumption and solid waste, where we talk about diverting waste from landfills, down to electric bike rebates. Further on down the line, we get to negative emissions and things like agriculture and forestry and our healthy soils law. So just at a glance, you get the sense of our very broad ambit, really anything that helps reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the atmosphere that some jurisdictional level of government in the US can handle, we consider part of our mandate. So if you're trying to find something more specific in our database, I'm going to walk you through our pathways. That would be the next tab up here on the top. And I am going to take you through a few topics in transportation, perhaps if we have time, something under reforestation, just to give you a sense of how to navigate this. So under transportation, you'll see light duty vehicles is a tab. We have over 212 resources addressing light duty vehicles. That's what that number means there. And CH14 means this corresponds to chapter 14 in the original 2019 text. As you go in here, you see a brief description of everything that's covered under the light duty vehicles pathway here. And then you see a lot of resources, for example, related to EV charging and refueling. This is a really timely subject, given where federal money is going, given the, I think the topic that we just heard about on expanding the electric grid. And so I'm going to call out a couple resources here and show you what they look like. So a local ordinance expediting permitting for EV charging stations. I'm going to bring this up. California has something like this on the book. AB 1236 in 2015 laid out some criteria and a toolkit for local governments to develop these. Our model is late of that, which means we really incorporated it and also considered other best practices from jurisdictions like Atlanta, Des Moines, and Denver. So if your jurisdiction has something like this on the book, and it should, you may nevertheless find that that there are still permitting hurdles or there are hurdles in the zoning code, and our resource might be a good source for how to fine tune or tighten issues you might see at the local level. So with each of our resources, we include a Word and PDF, as well as an introductory memorandum. With this one, we even include some political talking points, just to help you get you versed in what the discourse is going to be like around some of these models. And if you click on any of these resources, you can pull up the PDF or the Word doc. I'm going to hop over here and staying within EV charging for a moment. I'm going to look for our model curbside ordinance. So in a lot of cases, people want to be able to build EV chargers where they don't necessarily have a garage. And this is big in dense urban environments. This is big where apartment dwellers live. This is big where people need to be using curbside charging. California is looking at this, but there is nothing yet at the state level. I believe in the fall, the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development was tasked with developing something like this for municipalities to lean on, but it doesn't exist yet. And we've already taken the first bite at the apple. So I'd like to commend that to your attention for those of you who are representing those kind of districts where this is going to be a big issue for folks looking to adopt electric vehicles, but not having chargers. I'm sorry, not having garages really where they can install their own chargers. I'm going to hop out and show you one more resource under EV charging. And this is just the kind of very detail-oriented nuts and bolts sort of thing that you might really benefit from using a resource like ours, where we brought in some experts to look at these issues. Using streetlight poles for EV charging, surprisingly economic approach. Our authors worked with folks in the industry to identify technical solutions that could turn existing streetlights into level 2 chargers for a very low incremental cost. And level 2 chargers, again, that's chargers where you expect maybe a 4-hour charging period rather than a 30-minute charging period on a level 3. But that can still be really useful in areas where people are parking overnight or people are parking while they're at work. And this could be a potential for your jurisdiction. I am going to show you a couple things outside of this pathway with the time I have left, just maybe to show you how to navigate down a different pathway altogether. Going through transportation. Right now, parking requirements are an emerging field that people are very interested in. In a lot of cases, local governments will have parking requirements that aren't in line with what developers necessarily want, aren't in line with what building end users necessarily want, and can serve to inadvertently just kind of increase sprawl and dependency on vehicles. So when we look at reducing parking, there's a lot of jurisdictions that have pulled up specific requirements. And I also want to show you that, for example, in some cases, there are other organizations that we will help you find that are doing an even better job at tracking this than we could. So the Parking Reform Network, for example, tracks this all across the country. And if you wanted to use them to pull up what jurisdictions all around the US are doing, we haven't seen the need to try and replicate what other good jurisdictions are doing, but we see ourselves as really helping you find the information that you need. Seabrook, New Hampshire, for example, has enacted something on this wavelength, and you find yourself right there within 2 or 3 clicks from our website. So I'm going to show you one more resource, and then I think if we have time, we'll open it up to questions. I alluded to the broader scope of topics. Everything I've touched on has been transportation related so far. But we also cover a lot in agriculture and a lot in forestry. And urban reforestation is a topic of growing concern. I would like to just showcase, for example, Boston's urban forest plan, which you'll find under our pathways. When you think of doing model laws to address this sort of topic, it is not possible necessarily to write a model law that's going to tell people how many trees to plant per block. But from a planning perspective, I think there's a lot you can learn from looking at first movers like Boston, where they have considered how to expand the management of their urban forests, how to proactively care for their existing forests, how to build equity into who is going to be represented when the working group on forests meets. So there's a lot, even outside of model legal language, that on some of these emerging topics you can learn from, that we try to forward to you as well. So with that, I'm going to hop back over to our website and open it up for questions. Maybe I'll leave the website open for a second if anybody needs to see anything.
Thank you very much. Before we open it up to questions, there is a resource coming up on this item.
Yeah, so just wanted to let you all know that, of course, this is a very rich resource and you may want to dive into it more in an assisted fashion. So we are going to be having a Toolbox Tuesday on February 11th at 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. And this will provide you an opportunity to engage with this group of folks more, and they can do a more rich walkthrough of this as well.
Thank you. So with that, we'll go ahead and open it to members of this committee. Ms. Meister.
Thank you. I guess this is more, well, how does this work? Do you have, does a city subscribe to the service for a year, or I mean, is that a good question?
Yeah. This is an academic project run by Columbia University Sabin Center for Climate Change Law. Everything is public. You don't need to pay us anything.
So it's not something, so it's something that even our cities, like if we have a law firm that works for the city, they can go on and.
Right.
They can use this. Yeah, they can use this. We would love to be connected with folks who are using the resource and learn what their needs are even. And many law firms who use the service for something or other might end up drafting for us as well. So if you have somebody who's deeply engaged in a specific area covering something we don't cover, we could even collaborate with them. Yes,
Yeah.
It's all open and we're looking for new ways to collaborate with folks.
Yeah, I just, as your California guy, yes, planners, planning consultants, in-house city lawyers, outside law firms willing to work with all of them. We do issue a monthly newsletter, so if somebody's monitoring us every month, there's an update on some key things we've added. But the website's there for you to explore, and if you want to get our help on specific requests, we're here for all sorts of people associated with cities, counties, and regional agencies.
Well, that sounds like a great resource. I know that a lot of times our attorneys start reinventing the wheel, and it would be nice for them to just be able to click on something and charge us a lot less. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Ms. Clark.
I just have a question, couple of questions. Can you explain?
If you could get a little bit closer or
sorry.
get your microphone closer to you, pull it towards you.
Move it.
There you go.
Okay. I'm sorry. Can you explain the curbside charger? Is that where a car would pull up in front of your house or something and charge their vehicle, or would it, I don't know. And the other thing is the street light poles and the parking requirements. What does that mean? How many parking spaces? Can you just sort of help me on that?
Okay, yeah. So, and with a quick disclaimer that I'm the generalist and all generalists, and our drafters could certainly dive deep into these conversations with you. But just to give you a baseline sense, so in front of your apartment building, you might have space to park your car, but not have space where you can easily access your electrical box. And so this would create a regulatory framework for extending electricity out to the curbside to create dedicated chargers for folks living at that residence that wouldn't otherwise be able to access it. That's on curbside. And as I said, this is something that the governor's business office is also looking at. So I hope they look at our model. On streetlights, a lot of existing streetlights pull enough power that you can make some quick adaptations to them and turn each streetlight into a single electric vehicle charger that's able to provide level 2 charge. Again, that's a lower volume of electricity than the best chargers on the market today, but still can charge an average vehicle in about 4 hours. So that's one charger. And then our model suggests, okay, it lays out the technical parameters and then says, what might a reasonable set of goals for a municipality be? What percentage of streetlights might you be able to convert to create a nice density of level 2 chargers throughout the city at a lower cost? That's the concept there.
But if I could ask, in other words, you would have dedicated parking spaces on the street that only EV charging could happen.
While
So
they're
a normal,
charging.
somebody that wasn't charging their vehicle couldn't park there.
That is optional, and just to bring this to a high level, we really try to build optionality into these models as much as we can. That would be the default, and I think the smart way to go to ensure that these are available for the folks who actually need them. But we try to build optionality into all these models so that if that's not a feasible way of ultimately assigning the parking rights, that's not something you have to adopt.
Because I could see some downsides to those who people
Sure,
just
sure.
they just want to park and go in the grocery store or whatever.
Right.
And that's taken by whoever is or isn't there. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no additional questions in the room, we'll go ahead to those participating. Oh, I'm very, very sorry. Ms. Stark?
Not at all. I just wanted to ask one quick question that I'm sure that if I were to be able to attend the workshop, I would get the answer. But I'm wondering if you have any ordinances around electrification of like small motorized things like the blowers and the like.
Yeah, the answer is yes. And I don't believe we have our own model, but there are databases out there that the answer is yes, and I'd love to follow up offline because I could probably find it for you in 2 minutes of searching. But I know there are databases that actually track this across the country right now, and where there are requirements coming for primarily leaf blowers, like you mentioned, and other small motorized equipment. A handful of jurisdictions are leaping to the fore on passing requirements around those. And I know we track a few of them, and I also know we link to another larger tracker that will help you find a broad number. If you can believe it, 2,500 resources is not enough to cover everything we would like to. So sometimes we do point folks elsewhere.
Thank you.
You should have been in chambers to see the smile in Mrs. Stark when you said yes. It was just ear to ear. So always good when a presentation brings that kind of answers to the table. We'll go ahead and bring it up to questions from those participating at advertised locations or posted locations. Madam Clerk?
Yes, we do have one, Member Takahashi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the presentation. This is Tamala Takahashi in Burbank, just north of Los Angeles. And I'm also representing the San Fernando Valley Council of Governments. This is a great database. There's a lot here for us to potentially utilize as models. But I did notice that a number of the model ordinances are in other states, and a number of them are also large cities like Boston and that kind of thing. So I'm wondering, in your experience working with like small and medium-sized cities, how much internal staff time and work does it take to adjust those model ordinances to be under California and county laws, as well as also adjusting for it being a small or medium-sized city?
That's a really insightful question that I don't have a great answer for. We are ultimately not lobbyists. We're a 501c3, and so we don't tend to shepherd these through the whole implementation phase with folks who might find them valuable to learn from. If we were, we would obviously be potentially crossing that lobbying line. So I don't have great experience taking this through at the small and medium-sized city and working with staff on how to implement these. I think that the tensions that you expressed are absolutely there. And again, I can just say that in our best work products, we really try to emphasize optionality, that there are elements of these laws that can be taken out or inserted or adapted to fit local conditions and potentially state level regulatory environments. And we really do encourage our drafters to try and take that into account and provide that wherever we can. But to the real pointed question of how do we measure the time that it takes to really adapt these to different cities, I don't have a great answer for that. Do Rick or Jim want to weigh in on that one?
Yeah, I would think you probably need for the lawyer, you need somebody with, some experience in environmental stuff. If you're using one of those several municipal law firms like Best and Krieger, they'll have it. Richards, Washington, they'll have it. If you're a medium-sized city, maybe, if you consider Anaheim medium, which I know has some in-house people, they would probably have a specialist in-house to do it. If you were a small city, you just had one city attorney who was a generalist, that would be difficult.
Right.
Yeah, this is Rick Horsch. Let me just weigh in very briefly. The model laws that we draft, the 80 model laws, are designed to be general and not specific to any one jurisdiction. If you're looking at an existing law from another jurisdiction, that may be a little more difficult to adopt. But we try to draft these so that you can, as I like to say, take it and adopt it into California speak, right? Every jurisdiction's different. It's got a different form. It's got different language it uses. And we try to design these so that any jurisdiction can, adjust it to theirs. I think it also depends on the jurisdiction as well as the complexity of the law. Some of our model laws are a couple of pages. The curbside draft, the curbside charging and the light pole charging are, a few pages, and it wouldn't take long to adapt those. Some other of our model laws are 40 or 50 pages long because, restructuring the entire electric grid of the state is going to take a lot more. So I don't think there's any one good answer. All I can tell you is we try to design these model laws so that they are readily adaptable to any jurisdiction, and they are not specific to any one jurisdiction.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have any more raised hands online?
No further raised hands.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Very, very exciting presentation. I hope you can count hits on your website and you'll see the number go up after this presentation if it's not going up right now. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
okay, now we go on to our next agenda item, which is the vice chair election for the committee. For that, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Elder. Good morning.
Hello. So we are going to be having an election to fill the soon-to-be vacant EEC vice chair position. This will be the chair's last meeting, and Vice Chair Crosswhite will be stepping in as the chair. So we are going to be filling the vacant vice chair position. So far, we have received 2 nominations. We have Rick Dennison of Yucca Valley, RC District 11, and Lauren Meister of West Hollywood, RC District 41. So before we move forward with allowing them to speak, I want to see if anybody would like to nominate themselves or nominate somebody else from the floor to be an additional candidate. Anybody online?
No one online.
All right, well, thank you very much. So we have 2 candidates for the position. Each candidate is going to get, let's limit it to 3 minutes if you could, to just speak if you'd like about why your candidacy and why you want to be the vice chair, and then we will hold a vote afterwards for the position. I'm going to go in alphabetical order. So Member Dennison, you're first.
Thank you for the opportunity. When the call came that there was going to be a vacancy, that was the reason that I reached out. I'm here I come as often as I can, EEC, and now on the regional council, I come every meeting. So for me, it was a good fit. And also my time currently, I serve as the vice chair on SBCTA. I have a lot of transportation interests and certainly do a lot of work within our own area, San Bernardino County. Kind of being centralized makes it pretty good for me to try and learn what's happening throughout Southern California through SCAG and their goals. I'm also on the LAFCO board in San Bernardino County. So I do a lot of work with those types of services that they provide or we provide. And in addition, I'm currently a council member, two-time mayor for the town of Yucca Valley. We do a lot of course, normal community work, public safety infrastructure, quality of life programming, which I think really fits a lot of what SCAG is looking for, is to improve the quality of life for everybody up and down the state, and hopefully even throughout the country by setting an example. So the things that I'm interested in are very important to me, and I have a career in public safety, and so that's a big part of it also, because I base everything that I do on the safety of the people that we interact with. And then we go from there through our infrastructure things and looking at the effects on the environment. And especially in my area of Yucca Valley, my home is up against the Joshua Tree National Park. So I have a very high level of concern about the environment itself and how all these things that we do to bring us quality of life to us is held, the reins are held back when we're looking at the environment too, the world that we live in. So that's it's tough when you have two people that are considering running for the position, but I'm more than willing to do it and available to do it. So thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And Member Meister?
Yes, thank you so much. So I'll just give you a little background about me. I was elected to West Hollywood City Council in 2015, also two-time mayor. I represent the West Side Cities COG, which is Santa Monica, Culver City, Beverly Hills, and parts of LA County. So I worked in market research for about 40 years, had my own business into data, collecting data, analyzing data, and that's why I really wanted to join SCAG once I got elected to council, because as you know, SCAG is very data driven. And it's funny because none of my colleagues, they all thought SCAG was very nerdy, so they didn't want to join. And I was appointed to the CEHD committee, which during the RENA debate, and so at least I have that background as well from that perspective. My job now, actually during COVID, I went back to school, got my master's of public administration with a concentration in emergency management. So we have another thing in common. And I work for the VOAD for Los Angeles County, and a VOAD is the Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster. I'm their program manager. So I became very, very interested in resilience when I went back to school, and then got this job and really work on a lot of resilience related items because, as you know, disaster resilience is a big part of being resilient in our region. And my goal is to make this committee really search for that balanced approach, because what I notice, and I think we all notice from the state level, is we see there's the concentration on building housing, which, we all know we need housing, but at what cost? So are we losing something in our environment in order to accommodate that? And I think that we need to have that balanced approach. I also believe in local control, and I think that we all know our cities and counties best. That's why we were elected. So I would really like to be in this position to be able to help our chair to direct this committee to be really a voice for the environment, and really a strong advocate for environmental policies. And look, energy and environment work together. We have nature affects our energy, and our energy resources affect our environment. So it's an important thing for me. I think that, whatever choice you go with, I
I understand we have a lot of things in common, and I think that we're both very concerned about the environment. And either way, I think you'll do okay.
All right, thank you. You do not have to, but if you both agree, would you like to step out of the room so we could? Yeah.
Well, and it's not like the meeting is not recorded.
Yeah, you can always go in. Right.
That's why it's your choice
Yeah.
if you agree, stay in or go out either way.
Bring us back in at some point.
Yes.
I'm thinking of like both and have one on odd months and the other one on even months as the chair, they're equally shared.
So it's always hard when you have multiple candidates. I would suggest that we do a kind of a straw vote, see where we're at, and then once we get an agreement, then do the official vote so we can have a unanimous vote. So it looks like there's support, but you don't have to do that. That's just something that we've done sometimes when we fill positions, or we can just do one vote and just have it be 8-3 or whatever it is, and have that for the record, whatever you prefer. Okay. I don't make that decision.
The question is whether we do a straw poll first or.
All right, let's just vote and be done with it. So we're going to do a roll call and just state the candidate that you're voting for.
And don't forget to please turn on your microphones when you speak.
Okay, I will proceed with the roll call. Damon Alexander,
Dennison,
Anna Beltran, Bill Brock,
Oh my God. West Hollywood.
that's for Meister, Margaret Clark,
Meister.
Robert Copeland, Jenny Crosswhite,
Meister.
Ned Davis,
Meister.
Carmen Hernandez, Sherry Horn,
Meister.
Hernandez is Dennison.
Hernandez, Dennison, thank you, and Horn, Meister, thank you. Britt Huff,
Meister.
Joe Kelmick,
Meister.
Stephen Leash, Elaine Litzer, Patricia Lock Dawson,
Because he's been the I should pick him, but I like her questioning, so I'll go with Meister.
thank you. Yanni Lopez,
Meister.
Luis Plancarte,
Abstaining.
thank you. Daniel Ramos,
Ramos votes Dennison.
Jeanette Sanchez Palacios,
Meister.
Jennifer Stark,
Dennison,
Ali Taj, Tamala Takahashi,
Meister.
Connor Trout, Stephanie Bergen,
Dennison.
Dale Welty,
Dennison.
that was for Dennison, thank you. Okay, so Mr. Chair, the votes are tabulated as followed.
I'm here.
I'm sorry?
Ed Wilson. I'm in the city hall.
Oh, I apologize. It's you. So Wilson, who do you vote for?
Dennison.
Dennison, thank you. Just one moment. Okay, so the votes are tabulated as followed. For Vice Chair, Dennison received 7 votes. Meister received 11 votes, and there was 1 abstention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Really qualified. I'm just kind of there. Extensive town road.
We had a good chat though.
No, go ahead. Go through. You go ahead and take care of
All
the
right.
whole thing.
Thank you very much. So we finished the vote, and happy to announce that Lauren Meister is the new EEC Vice Chair beginning next month. Thank you, Mr. Dennison, for your nomination. And that is the end of that item. Thank you.
Congratulations. It's always interesting when these things come up. To me, they're awkward and they're industry. Yeah. Okay. We'll move on now to report. Later this morning at the SCAC Regional Council meeting, we will hold a 2024 Southern California Economic Update. Please join us to hear the annual economic report as in-depth discussion will take place. And we'll have an economic roundtable regarding the state and the region's economic emerging trends. I'd like to take a moment to recognize our outgoing members and thank them for the contributions to this committee and their dedicated service. We have Damon Alexander with San Bernardino. Thank you very much. Dan Kalmick, Huntington Beach. Thank you very much for your service. Nicholas Schultz with Burbank, Phil Brock with Santa Monica, Edward Wilson with Signal Hill. And of course, this is my last meeting. But, you know, after 8 years of being here the first Thursday of every month, don't be surprised if next month, like a horse that loses its rider automatically goes back to the stable. And I might be sitting there next there's no meeting next month, but don't be surprised. Thank you for putting up with all my idiosyncrasies and my insecurities. And I look forward to you as a team continuing to do all the hard work that you do. Thanks to staff, the prep work that they have done for me to just, you know, help me kind of stumble through these meetings. They do all the hard work. I do the stumbling naturally. Thank you very, very much. I know that you will have a great support team and a great membership. So thank you, everybody. With that, I'll turn it over to staff report, and we'll have Government Affairs Officer Rachel Wagner to give us a briefing.
Thank you, Chair. You will certainly be missed, that is for sure, as well as all of our other outgoing members, which I also want to just remind you all that all of our outgoing members at SCAG will be formally recognized at the GA in May. So in addition to that, one other piece of information I wanted to share is that SCAG's 2025 Sustainability Award nominations are now being accepted through December 13th. And these projects that were adopted or completed between January 1st, 2021 and December 31st, 2024 are eligible. And if there are projects that span across multiple agencies, you're encouraged to submit one joint application. More information can be found on our SCAG website. And that concludes my update. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional announcement from staff?
No, just to say thank you as well from staff.
Thank you. Any announcements or comments from members of this body?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, we have in chambers here, Margaret.
I just wanted to thank all the people that have served so much, and we're sorry to see you go. It's a sad moment, but thank you for all the time you put in.
Thank you. And we had somebody online, and then we'll come back to you.
Yeah, this is Ed Wilson, and I have Signal Hill, and I apologize for last month. I said it was my last meeting. That's probably why everyone thought I was not here. I just want to say, you know, it's been a pleasure working with SCAG 20 something years. And I wish everyone the best. I think the future is bright. and everyone in the room, and those that are not. Your leadership is important. I want to wish everyone a happy holidays, happy Merry Christmas, happy Kwanzaa, and all the rest. Enjoy, and stay steadfast. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, one more thing, sorry. So anyone that I would like to stay in touch with anyone that would want to, so please reach out if you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brock.
Just very simply, this has been a great experience because this is like a master's course in the environment for Southern California. So I've appreciated being here each month for the meetings, and we'll meet again down the road. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Crosswhite.
First, I just want to thank both of our candidates for stepping up and expressing your interest in being vice chair. And then that we'll miss our outgoing chair and the rest of you. I feel like we have a great group here that gets together to learn and ask questions. And so I will miss those of you who won't be here. And just as a different note, while we were in this meeting, there was a 7.0 earthquake off the coast of Humboldt County, which was followed up shortly after by a 5.8 in Sonoma County, like just within a few minutes. And it did trigger tsunami warnings from Oregon all the way down to just north of Santa Cruz. So just, you never know what can happen.
Yeah.
Support your local ROAT.
Yep. So with that, this meeting is adjourned, and here you go. It's gonna, you sit on this and not on them. Thank you.
Thank you all.
I think it was our second or third meeting that we moved into this building. That we had an earthquake with an epicenter here in the LA area. And it sways beautifully the way it is designed to do. And they started talking about it being all kinds of wall fairings. I'm a desert dweller, okay? Where I live,